All right, so here we go, recording. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Breaking Barriers Now. I am so truly grateful to have my guest today. I am your host, Jody Watkins. Today, my guest is Michelle Speaks. You may have remembered her from when she was on my show last year. That was 2021. She is back and better than ever. I can't wait for her to tell us what she's been doing since she was on my show last time. And I definitely can't wait for you guys to hear her story. Her story is one of the most powerful stories I've ever heard in my life. It definitely, when she told it to me, it inspired me to start my healing journey a lot further. So I'm not sure if I ever told her that, but it did. So now you know. And I mean, she's just a powerhouse, and she is here in Jacksonville, Florida. She's doing a lot of things, and she's going to tell you guys about that. But if you get a chance, make sure you are following her. Make sure if she's doing a workshop and you're here locally, or if she does them virtually, make sure you're there. You need to be there, especially if you're someone who has been through some trauma in your life. And most of us have, unfortunately. Yeah. So, Michelle, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for
So
having
glad
me,
you're
Jody.
here.
I'm honored. I'm honored and grateful to share space with you. Thank you so much. Thank you for the connection.
Yeah, for sure. And, just to kind of remind people from the first time we got together, we actually met on a platform called Alignable. At that time, neither one of us really used that platform.
Right?
But I happened to go on there. I saw her page and I said, oh my gosh, I need to meet this woman. And I just messaged her. I didn't know what was going to come out of that, but she messaged me back and she said, I don't even go on here either. But for some reason, I messaged you back. And so we've just been connected ever since. But Michelle, the premise behind this podcast is to save lives. And the more we share our stories, the more we can help people. And you know that more than, anyone. And it's hard to get to that place where we can find our voice to share our stories. And I know that from personal experience.
Right.
But once we are able to get there, how powerful is it that we know that we can help so many other people out there when we do that?
And that is the amazing thing. I mean, I think the key is the connection piece.
For sure.
Often when we've encountered stuff, we become disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
And learning how to reconnect.
Definitely.
With ourselves is the pathway to us being able to connect authentically with others and those that we're called to.
Yeah. Yeah. I could tell you guys everything I know about her, but I'm going to let her do it. Michelle, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from and tell us a little bit about your backstory so that we can get to the forefront of what you're doing now.
Well, where I'm from is not who I am, thank God, because if it was, I wouldn't be here today. But I am a retired Navy. I'm a Navy veteran. I did 13 years as a cryptologist or a code breaker or a spook, as they called us. I tell people I help the military keep their secrets a secret. And
oh gosh,
take those secrets to my grave.
Oh my goodness. So what we don't, and I was in the military too, so that kind of worries me. But right. I knew there was some people back there that knew some things that I didn't know.
Right. So I'm a mother. I'm a grandmother. Soon to be 4 beautiful grandchildren, 3.
And she does not look old enough to be a grandmother, you guys. If you're looking on the video part, like, come on. I'm
trying to hold this temple together so I can continue to do the work that God has called me to.
Yeah.
So, me in a nutshell, I'm very eclectic. I'm a healer in word, touch, and presence. That wasn't always the case. Well, I didn't know it. But I love adventure. I love inspiring people. I love doing things that people expect me not to be able to do. And I think that was because of my history and the challenges that I encountered.
Yeah.
And I just love giving life where where life seems hopeless. So that is me in a nutshell. I'm kind of clumsy. People think I'm very graceful, but I'm really a goofball, and I can fall over nothing on the sidewalk or going up a flight of stairs. And you'll learn more about me as we continue to chat. So,
yeah. And that's I love that you said that, and I love how transparent you are. And I say that I've started saying that to people about the discipline, because people are like, you're so disciplined. I said, no, I'm not.
Right.
I'm really not. I really don't desire to wake up early in the morning. I don't really always want to go to the gym. Like I'm not the most motivated person. Sometimes I'd rather sit on the couch and do nothing. But I have to think about the outcome that I desire. And so that's what keeps me going. But so I love that you were just talking about that, because, yeah, I think you're one of the most graceful people that I know. So the fact you just said that. Oh my goodness. Okay. The last time we spoke, you went into some of the things that happened in your childhood.
Right.
And I would love for you to talk a little bit about that again today, because there are some people out there, either they're children that are going through it, or they're adults that have gone through it and they don't know where to start their healing journey.
Right. So, my journey in this life, and it started out, I tell people this all the time, your beginning doesn't determine your end, because it started out very dark for me. What was supposed to represent safety and security and nurturing and provision and love and all of that was not a place. It was a very frightening place. It was a very dark place. It was a place filled with secrets and deceit and lies, which is why I cannot stand that in my life, and I don't
Yeah.
tolerate it now. But it all boiled down to emotions, that had me bound.
Yeah.
Because I was taught at an early age to suppress, not to not express, but emotions were meant to be expressed, not suppressed. And
Right.
so, early in my childhood, I started out being groomed, to put on this mask, this persona, like that everything was okay. And when inside and internally I was a mess. I
Yeah.
was broken. I was confused. I was, before I even realized that I had a voice, that voice was taken. Before I even realized that I could instill boundaries, those boundaries were blurred and crossed. And so,
Yeah.
I started being sexually violated by male family members in my family at the age of 6. And even though,
I get chills every time you say that. I've heard you say that a few times, but
yeah,
I mean, yeah.
but because I was groomed, like even though I was so young and I didn't know that that was wrong, in internally it felt wrong. But because I was raised to be obedient, in my household, you were seen and not heard, and that's what children were, to be seen and not heard.
Right.
And we didn't talk about things in the family that went on in the family. What goes on in the house stays in the house. And so even though instinctively I felt that it was wrong, I submitted to it.
Yeah.
And so I learned very early, I would love, love, love going to school, because there I got the love and the validation and the attention that I didn't get at home. I could be somebody else. I was this vibrant, vivacious, happy little
Yeah.
child. I was involved in everything. Like I was in the choir, I was on the drill team, I was, on the track team, whatever I could do to stay involved, to stay away from the home. Because I changed, like something in me just changed. The closer I got to home, the more withdrawn I became, the more quiet I became. I even started to shrink in, to myself, because I was trying to hide, to be visibly invisible, because I knew when I walked in that door what was going to happen. So I would go straight to my room and I would sit in my bed and I would either curl up in a fetal position and I would look at the clock and just watch the minutes tick away, because I knew what was going to happen when it got dark. Or I sat in my bed and I stared at the wall and looked out the reflection of the window and saw the light as it just got darker and darker and darker. And that's what my younger childhood was like. And I finally got the courage to say something when I was about 7. And, I love my grandmother, we do what we know. And she asked me, she's like, well, why did you wait so long to tell? You must have liked it. And that's when I remember consciously just shutting down completely, showing no emotion, showing no feelings. I mean, you can only do that for so long, because the body, it holds memories and it holds trauma.
Yes.
And so I started acting out in other ways, As a teenager, I finally went to live with my mom, because she was away in the military, creating a better life for us. But she couldn't understand why I was acting out. I was doing things. I was always an obedient child, but I started acting rebellious. I was acting out because, I attracted it seeing people violating me sexually.
Right.
Her coworkers violated me in a sexual way. And I didn't tell because I didn't want her to get in trouble and, things like that. But I started acting out by drinking and,
Yeah.
hanging out with the wrong crowd, an older crowd. And, that was the first of 5 failed suicide attempts because it got to the point that I didn't know how to react, respond to these emotions that were starting to come up because I had been so long without feeling anything.
Yeah.
When I started feeling things, I started trying to suppress it, with alcohol and
Yeah.
with, other things. And I would have these emotional mood swings. I'd be crying
Mm-hmm.
one minute and explosively mad the other, and then withdrawn and quiet the other. So it was just topsy turvy. And
Yeah.
so, um, I fast forwarded and I wanted to change my life. I wanted to separate myself from the dysfunction that I grew up in. And
Yeah.
so I joined the military because I've always been a servant at heart. Even with all of that happened, I love to serve people.
Mm-hmm.
I love to help people. And I was like, what better way to do that than to serve my country? And, my first year in the military, I was sexually violated by a service member. So I was like, at that point, my mindset was like, what am I doing to attract this?
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
why is this happening to me? Why am I attracting these kind of, you know, um, attention? And so I started blaming myself. And the way
Mm-hmm.
to avoid that was like, I'm going to be successful in everything that I put my hands to because I can erase those memories and
Yeah.
recreate who I am because nobody knows me from then. And that's what I attempted to do. I married, the biggest, baddest service member I could find, 6'4", 330 pounds, because in my mindset, who's going to try to go through him to get to me? He was
Mm-hmm.
my protector, or what I thought it would be. But,
Right.
that was another um, abusive relationship in every sense of the word, mentally, physically, emotionally, sexually.
Yeah.
And so I started to break down, I started to shut down. I could no longer will my way through. I could no longer succeed my way through. I could no longer just avoid my way through. I hit a brick wall
Yeah.
for, literally and figuratively. I stopped wanting to go to work, and anybody that knows anything about the military, you stop showing up, there's consequences.
Yes.
I stopped paying bills, which led to car repossessions and utilities being turned off. I
Right.
stopped caring about my hygiene, which led to more fights in the home, not just the hygiene, but not paying bills.
Right.
And I had a daughter by that time. I stopped caring for her, and
Mm.
I'm ashamed to say that. But thank God, we have a loving relationship now. I thank
Yeah.
God for His grace. But I just hit a wall like, do not pass go, do not collect $200.
Yeah.
And I realized that I needed help, and I reached out for help through the military. And once they diagnosed me, with complex post-traumatic stress, major depressive disorder, panic disorder, agoraphobia, and other things, 5 mental health diagnoses, I just felt like my world came crashing down. I was like, I'm no longer viable for this world. I'm no longer viable for my family. I'm no longer viable and worthy. What now? And so I went into a deep depression. I spiraled, and you know, um, I ended up getting out of the military with a heart condition because when you don't address things, they manifest in your body.
Yes.
I firmly believe that,
Yep.
because I've lived it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Same here.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, and so my first year out of the military, I was bedridden, with a heart condition.
Mm-hmm.
But that was when I began to turn and really seek, God in earnest. Like I'm like, Lord, if you're real, I need you to make yourself real to me. I need you to make yourself known to me. I need
Yes.
to experience you. I need to feel you. I need to,
Yeah.
I need to be able to trust in something again. And if you created me,
Yes.
then show me.
That's oof. I
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
every word of that just because that's where I was. You
Yeah.
know, when I got to that point, and I mean, I'm one of the most stubborn people I know. I I was fighting it for a really long
Yeah.
time.
I was desperate.
That's
I was desperate.
yeah.
I was in a place of desperation because I knew with all the failed suicide attempts, 5 total, that I didn't really want to die.
Right.
I just didn't want to carry the excruciating pain that I was carrying. I didn't know how to process it. I didn't want to feel it. I didn't want to be. I
Yeah.
just didn't want to live like that anymore. And so that was my paradigm shift when God healed me, of my heart condition. And, the cardiologist was like, I've never seen this. I've never seen anybody recover from what you had. And that was my wake up call. That was my paradigm shift. That was my aha moment, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So when I really truly felt and experienced true unconditional love that, our Abba Father offers, that was my paradigm shift in my journey on the road to healing and
Yeah.
wholeness.
Mm. Let's talk a little bit about that journey because I know I kind of share this now where I started my journey and then I thought I was good and then I kind of crashed again
Right.
and then I kind of had to start again. So tell us a little bit about your journey because I think that people need to hear that part because I mean I know me personally I would have loved to have heard that from someone just to know that it wasn't going to keep going up, right?
Right.
It's just like everything else in life,
Right.
it's gonna ups and downs.
Well, life is, there's ebbs and flows in life.
Mm-hmm.
There's mountaintops, there's valleys, there's peaks, there's valleys. And I used to avoid or try to avoid the valleys because we can try, but we never really avoid them. It makes it worse.
Yeah.
And I got to a point when I hit really, really rock bottom. Like within a matter of 2 months, I had lost a position, a new relationship that I had attempted, after my marriage. I lost my car, I lost my home, and I was really at rock bottom. And I was like, what do I do from here?
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important. Our community is so important.
Yes.
Because I had a fellow woman veteran, look at me and realize that something was wrong beneath this mask that I was wearing. She could see that I was struggling.
Yeah.
And so she told me about this organization that helps military veterans that have trauma and, have experienced, whether it be physical, mental, or emotional. And I was desperate. At that point, I had run a marathon with no training, 26.2 miles, and
Wow.
finished it, and I had done so much because I was just grasping at things to have the will to continue to want to live. And when she told me about this program, I applied for it, not thinking I was going to get accepted because, it was a worldwide pool of applicants. And I got accepted. And, lo and behold, I ended up in Peru on a capstone expedition, mountain climbing, which is something that I had never done because I was afraid of heights.
Yeah, that's interesting. I remember the first time you told me that, I think you said I'm afraid of heights.
Right.
We need to explore that because people need to hear that part too. Like, how do you overcome that?
Well, I tell people this: I have not overcome it. I just confront it.
I love
confront
that.
it every time. Every time I confront it is a victory.
Yeah, I love that.
And so, on the side of that mountain with 10 other disabled veterans, I was facing two fears. I was confronting two fears: my fear of the opposite sex because I was the only female, and my fear of heights. And I'm going to tell you, it was not pretty and it did not feel good.
Right.
But it was so liberating when I got to the top. There were times where I cried, I snotted, I crawled in places, but I was determined because that's the thing. There's something innately within us, this resiliency, this God-given thing that He's given us, that even when we're at our lowest, we will not give up. We may say it with our mouth, we may think it in our mind, but the spirit overrides that. And that's what happened, And when I got to the top of that mountain, I looked and I was like, God, I made it. Wow. I made it. But I wouldn't have made it without you. And that was, my paradigm shift. And so even since then, do I still have moments? Do I still have days where yes, I do. But now I've understood the importance of community and connection and creating a safe environment where I can actually unmask,
Yeah.
I have an acronym for unmask, to unmask the longing within, to unmask the hurt within, to nurture the longing within, to manifest your dreams, goals, and desires, to truly come alive because I wasn't alive before.
Yeah.
To be safe to be you because I was never safe. Yeah. To attract the kindred connections in your life that were already preordained. So when I started unmasking, first to myself, because my Abba Father already knows me. Yeah. That was when I realized that even despite my challenges, despite the trauma, despite the hurt, despite the wounds, they didn't define me. They were a part of something that I encountered, but they didn't define who I was. Yeah. And so Is it easy? No. Is it worth it? Yes.
Yes.
But community support, a circle of trust, and making the decision every day, every second, every minute,
Yes.
every hour that, no matter what, will not die but live and declare what God has called me to do. And that has been my stabilizing force through all of this thing, my
Yeah.
foundation. And so that is how I live. That is how I live my life, not day by day, but second by second, minute by minute,
Yes.
hour by hour.
Yes. That's so important that you say that because, and one of the things that I teach people is how to kind of find more time in their day and stuff like that. But I also teach people that you have to learn how to go with the flow
Yeah,
because we can't plan everything out. And honestly, what I've learned is my plan is never as big as his.
exactly.
So I've had to learn to really relinquish that control and, just plan for the unexpected, because we really don't, we can have certain times that we're going to meet up, right? Or things like that. But God's plan is always
Supersedes
going to take
everything.
over. Yeah. But we have to let it. We have to let it.
And then, another thing that helped me was there was a point that I was so spiritually minded that I was not earthly good. Like I would not accept help,
Yes.
traditional help. I wouldn't accept
Yes.
counseling. I wouldn't accept,
Wow.
certain things because that's not God. But it
Mm-hmm.
is because God created each of us uniquely to
Yes.
fill a need in this earth. And so
Yes.
finding that balance for me has been instrumental. And then,
Yeah.
understanding that in order for me to help others, I had to identify my own barriers.
Yes.
That I had to end the shame of silence, where I was silenced because of the guilt and the shame
Mm-hmm.
that I had and the embarrassment that I had attached to things that were not my fault and that I could not control.
Yeah.
And then that was when I began to regain and restore my voice. And
Yeah.
that's what I help others do now.
Yeah.
So
I
it's a
love that.
continual journey, and I have to continually do the work.
Right.
And that's the thing. We can have faith, we can pray, we can proclaim, but unless you're doing the work,
Faith without deeds is dead, right? Yeah. Yeah.
if you hide it,
So
you can't
true.
heal it.
Yeah.
That's my tagline. You can't heal from what you won't address.
Yes. Yes. And that's definitely something. And what you said about, the spiritual part of it, that's what I thought too. It's like, okay, I'm going on this journey with God and I'm allowing Him to lead and I'm going to church and I'm hearing from these pastors and I should be doing this and I should be doing that. And that's what I had to learn is that balance because I'm still in the world. And even in the Bible, it says you're in the world, just not of the world, right?
And, four walls in the building are not the church. We are the church.
Mm-hmm. We are the church, yes. And so I had to learn that too.
How are you building this church?
Yes.
What are you pouring into it?
Yes.
What are you allowing into it?
Yeah.
Some of the greatest people in the Word, look at what they were before God called them.
Yeah.
Moses was a murderer.
Yeah.
Paul
Job,
went to
Saul, yes.
was a persecutor
Yes.
of those that are of the faith. So
Yeah.
your past doesn't determine who you are, and it doesn't preclude you from walking in what God has called you to.
Yeah. I love that you said that because that was one of the things that I had to go through where it was like, well, I made all these mistakes, he's never going to accept me, so I never allowed myself to come to him until I had to. I had no choice. And so now I tell people it's the same thing, he gives the most grace. We just have to be willing to come to him.
Mm-hmm.
And, you don't have to wait until you hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
And I honestly hope that you don't,
right.
because that's not a good place to be.
And this is the thing. Our pain, and I've said this before, society has brainwashed us into pursuing pleasure and feel good emotions, into avoiding pain and the painful emotions. But when you pursue pleasure, you're going to want more just to get that same feeling. You didn't feel anything. And so pain is the part of the process to help me identify my passion, which helped me to identify my purpose that God had already, placed on my life. Yeah. And now that I'm in a place of power, I have to go back and help my sisters and my brothers, work through their journey, those that, God has assigned and called me to.
Right.
And so, pain to passion to purpose to power.
Yes, I love that.
It's a cycle, ebbs and flows. You have to endure the bad to get to the good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I love that too, because that's one of the things that I had to learn too, where, you know, all the trauma that we endure, we can actually, it's supposed to be used for good, but we have to be willing to share it. And that's one of the questions that I wanted to ask you too, because I know that's something that I've experienced where the more I started sharing, the more the right people started coming into my life. Because before I was trying to help everyone and I couldn't help everyone because not everyone wants to be helped, right? And I didn't either for the longest. I never judge anyone or anything like that. But do you feel like the more you started sharing your journey that, you know, you don't have to search for people now, they come to you?
Right. You know, this is a thing. In my quiet time, God was like, He said to me, "As you go, I will heal you."
Mm,
You know, so as you share,
mm-hmm.
you give other people the permission to be transparent, to be
Yes.
vulnerable, to be authentic.
Yes.
And I was dumbfounded. You know, I did my first event in 2016, Beauty for Ashes, picking up the broken pieces, healing, delivering, restoring, and over 200 women from all over the state of Florida.
Mm,
You know, from as young as 16 to as old as in their early 70s attended.
mm-hmm.
And that was my eye opening, my revelation that everyone is hurting.
Yes.
Everybody is struggling with something.
With something, yes.
But if you open your mouth and do what God has told you to do, no matter how embarrassing, because I was like, Lord, there were some things I'm like, I'm not sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
And He was like,
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are. And I was like,
yes.
Lord, that's embarrassing. I'm ashamed.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm no longer ashamed because every experience that I've had has shaped and molded and prepared me to help those that are ready to heal, and those that are ready to be drawn to me, you know, not to me, because He said, if you know, I will draw all men unto you through you if you allow yourself to be a yielded vessel. So I no longer search. I just do what God has called me to do, and those that are attracted to me or drawn to me are supposed to be with me.
Right.
Now, because I'm independent and I'm a go-getter and you know, I like to make things happen, you know, but I got tired of getting ahead of God, and I got tired of getting beat about the head and shoulders because I was trying to make it happen.
Yeah.
So I surrendered, and you know, wouldn't it be wonderful? And I was thinking about this morning, Jody, and yesterday. What would our life be like if we stopped feeling like we had to fight for everything? Like we have to fight for our relationships, we have to fight for our ministry, we have to fight for our finances, we have to fight the system. What would happen if you just stopped fighting and you just surrendered? Fighting to be seen, you know, by those that we think we aren't seen by, fighting to be heard, fighting to be loved. You don't have to fight to be loved. Love is given.
Yes.
Love is.
Yes.
Even if you don't receive it, maybe God is using you as a tangible example of love to someone that doesn't know how to give it or receive it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
What would life look like? And I asked myself that this morning. What would life look like if I stopped fighting certain things in my life? You know, because we all have struggles. I'm fighting some things, you know, internally and externally with different organizations I won't name. And it gets frustrating, and you get weary, and you get tired, and you get angry. I do. And I'm like, and then it was like, God was like, what if you just stop fighting and surrender? Because every battle is not yours. The battle is mine.
Yes.
So that's the question I would ask anybody listening. What battles are you fighting that aren't yours?
Yeah.
What would happen if you just surrendered?
It's so much more peaceful that way. I know that's what I'm learning. But like you said, it is daily moment struggles, right? I mean, you can be driving around and somebody cuts you off, right? So it is that you just, for me, I think it's just that awareness of the potential of where I can go. And then I'm able to kind of pull it back and surrender it. But it's not always 100%, you know? But that's why we have this amazing thing called forgiveness. You know?
And self-forgiveness is such a big
self-forgiveness, yes.
I in certain areas of my life, I'm still a work in progress, just being transparent, you know. It's easy for me to forgive others. Sometimes it's not as easy for me to forgive myself, like Michelle. Like, why didn't you? How many times is it going to take for you to learn? You know, how many times are you going to have to go through this before you get it?
Yeah.
You know, so extend grace to yourself. Because you can't extend it to anyone else more than you extend it to yourself.
Yeah. Well, and also not relying on other people to give you that grace because they might not be in a place where, I mean, they might be fighting
Yeah.
something. They might be struggling with something. And I know, so for me, I've had to learn that even if maybe that person isn't ready to forgive me, I have to forgive me.
Yeah.
And that is so huge. It's so huge, you guys. If you're in that place, we have to get to where we're not relying on other people to make us feel a certain way or feel worthy
Validated,
or
loved,
validated yet or significant, right? The
accepted.
titles, get rid of them, right? Like the
I hate
titles don't
titles.
make, yes, and that was something that God placed on my heart finally, where it was just like you've got to stop with all that, because I was still, but I want to be able to do this and I need this title to be able to do. No, no, we have everything inside of us. All of the pain that you've endured has allowed you to get to where you are. All the pain that I've endured is now allowing me to finally have the right people in my life, and be able to just continue to share it. Like I tell people I'm an open book now, but it feels good. And how does that make you feel? Does it make you feel freer? Like, I talk about weight loss a lot, right? Your health coach, the mental weight loss. Oh
I
my
would
goodness.
take mental weight loss, emotional weight loss over physical weight loss any day because
Same here.
it's heavier.
Yes.
Psychological, I believe, abuse is, for me, I can only speak for myself,
Right.
was much more damaging with long-term effects than the actual physical acts of
Right.
abuse that I experienced. The psychological, but that started to change once I started, along with renewing my mind with God's word, but allowing connecting with the right therapist and psychologist
Mm-hmm.
that were help me to process through that,
Yes.
which has helped me to be a better life coach, which has
Yes.
helped me to be a better person, period, which has helped me to
Yes.
be better in my relationships, my friendships, my professional affiliations, within my family, with myself, because the
Mm-hmm.
relationship with ourselves outside of God is the most important,
Yeah.
because that's determined how we show up. And I say this all the time, you cannot separate the personal from the professional because the professional is impacted by the personal. So if you're
Right.
one person in your professional life and another person in your personal life, that's a disconnect.
And that's where I was. Were you there at one
Yeah.
point?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just not, it's not a good place to be.
Mm-hmm.
You're fighting yourself.
And how?
Like, you're basically at
And
odds with
how exhausting
yourself.
is
Like,
that?
yes. And you talked about the 5 failed suicide attempts. I mean, you're obviously meant to be here. I've thought about it. I mean, I got as close as to looking in the mirror with a gun pointed to my chin, right? Like now I will say the gun was unloaded. I don't think I would have ever gone through it, but I just got to that point where I didn't know what I had left in me. But that was that thing what you're talking about. We're battling internally.
Yeah.
We're not even battling externally. We're not even battling the people around us. We're battling ourselves.
Everything begins and ends with them. I used several modalities when in my attempts. One of them was a gun, and it was loaded. I put it to my head. I'm like, God, I can't take this pain anymore. And my husband at the time walked in after having been gone, for 7 days, me not knowing where he was, and I was like, Lord,
Wow.
I'm like, and I said, if you don't want me to go through with this, then intervene. And he intervened.
Wow.
And so I want to speak to anyone that is contemplating, that's on the fence, straddling about, do I
Yes.
end my life? Do I not? I implore you to not end your life, because you are needed, you are wanted,
Yes.
you are loved,
Yes.
you are cherished, you are appreciated, and you are important, and you are worthy.
Yes.
No matter what things may be going through your mind, you are worthy, and we need you.
Yes.
And so, I could go on and on and on and on.
I'm sure we both could.
I'm just grateful. I'm grateful
Yeah.
for connections like you, Jody. I'm grateful that
Same
you
here.
chose to reach out, because you saw, like you said, you saw the word mask or unmasking or something.
Well, that's been huge on my heart lately, because that's what I had to learn how to do. And we learn how to, like I spent my whole life with this mask on.
Right.
And and then they started forcing us to wear masks, I was like anti-mask. I'm like, no, you're not. You will not make me put that on, right?
Right.
Like
I will not
I
be
was
masked again
not,
ever.
and I
Like,
tell you, it was so funny, especially going into the VA. They did not like me,
yeah.
but that was the. I think that was part of. There was some other behind, some other things that I talk about now where I didn't realize that. At one point I was suffocated. At one point, I almost drowned, and I think I was put in small closets. So I am like a little bit claustrophobic, and so when
Right.
I put things over my nose, and I also don't wear turtlenecks for,
You don't
so
have to any, yeah.
I just never have. And so when when COVID came up and everybody had to wear this mask, I would start hyperventilating.
Mhm.
And so here I am
Because
going into the VA, and I'm like, you're making me hyperventilate. You're supposed to be protecting the veterans, not making
right.
us, and so that was why.
And
I
that's how
just,
the body holds
yeah,
our memories. Even if we don't consciously, our body remembers, and anything that resembles that, we're gonna fight.
yes,
Instinctively, our body's gonna
yes,
respond to it. And, I don't
yes.
like being enclosed in places. I don't like people
Same here.
coming up behind me
Mm-hmm.
unexpectedly. There's certain smells that trigger me, but I've learned to connect those triggers to what it was and to
Yes.
replace it with a positive memory, just to kind of get
Yes.
rid of that. And so,
Yes.
Jody, we had a wonderful time, a couple of weeks ago.
I
I
know.
did the Art of Reconnection Wellness Gathering,
Yes.
talking about helping to reconnect with the creator, whomever you serve,
Right.
and with yourself, and then with, friends, family, and loved ones, because as women, we are so pivotal in the lives of so many others.
Yes.
Um, the man, they say the man is the head, but the woman is the neck by which the head swivels.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we as women are broken or dysfunctional, then, that's going to cause some dysfunctionality in the head. And I know
Yes.
some people will disagree with that, but this is just my,
No, I
perspective.
completely agree. I mean, and God bless you for doing that. I saw so much release that day in
Mhm.
some people, even the woman that I was connected to that day. I mean, it's interesting. I still text her almost daily. And we've just kind of stayed connected and, just checking
Because
in
we
on each
want to,
other.
because we're created for connection.
Yes.
It's within our DNA. And
Yeah.
with this COVID and the pandemic, that's caused us to become even more disconnected, not just from
Yes.
our families and the things that we're so used to, but from within. And
Yeah.
so we have to find our path back.
Yes.
And so, that is the thing. That's one of the things that God has called me to do, to help people reconnect,
Yeah.
where they become disconnected. But it ends and begins within.
Yeah.
There were areas in my life that I was still disconnected in. I got some reconnection that day.
Yeah, I think we all did.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so we just have to address the things that have us bound,
Mhm.
preventing us from being connected to the creator, to the source, to whatever you want to classify it as. And to be truly and show up authentically, unapologetically, without shame, without embarrassment,
Yes.
our unique selves, because we were
Yes.
created uniquely. We're fearfully and wonderfully made. We're
Mhm.
beautiful. God doesn't make any mistakes. He doesn't create any mistakes. And I embrace the good, the bad, and the ugly things about Michelle
Yep.
now. And I did not always do that.
Right. Yeah,
Um,
same here.
and so I implore you, I just can't get off of that. I beseech you, I implore you. If you are hurting and you need a place to heal, there's two sources sitting here, resources right now. We're not the
Yes.
source, we're the resources.
Right.
Then reach out to us. If you are ready to move beyond your pain, I'm here to help you.
Mhm.
I've got an upcoming course that's starting April 20th, to help you identify the barriers and the shame of silence and restore your voice. So reach out to me if you
Yeah.
want to break barriers in your life. Jody Walker is your girl.
Yeah, but there's a reason that we're able to do that.
Yeah.
And it's because, I mean, I look at some of the things and some of the things that you've been through, right? And I'm like, wow, this actually made us more well-rounded in our lives if you think about it. I mean, not that I would ever say that it's a good thing to ever go through any of those things that we've been through, but it's made us into, because we allowed it, right? Because some people hold on to that pain, and we see that now too, especially when we've gone through the healing journey, or at least started it. I think we notice it more when people aren't willing to get there, maybe.
Yeah.
I know I do.
Yeah.
Um,
You know, when we endure a lot of pain or trauma, we try to protect ourselves. So we build
yes.
this wall of protection around our hearts because that's
Yes.
where everything is seated, our mind, our will, our emotions. But that wall of protection ends up becoming a prison,
Hmm.
and it prevents us from being able to truly connect,
Yes.
not just with our creator, but with ourselves,
Yeah.
and if we can't connect with us, how can we connect with our loved ones? And we end up hurting them,
Yes.
and
And I
we end
know
up
I've done
hurting
that.
ourselves.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
want to hurt me intentionally anymore. And I
Yeah.
definitely don't want to hurt you. So whatever
Right.
comes up, it's coming out,
Yeah.
but I've had to learn to be mindful about who to share what with, because everybody is not in a place to be able to understand or receive or to
Yes.
carry your stuff,
Yes.
so my
I've
goal
had to
is to
learn
do
that
no
too.
harm.
Yeah. I've had to learn that too. That I have a tendency to, and I think it's part of the journey too, because you go from not trusting anyone
Mhm.
to over trusting the wrong people, right?
Right.
And so I've had a tendency to do that as well, where I would, disclose too much, and the other person, they weren't ready for that.
Yeah.
And so but that had to happen because that showed me something. It showed me that I'm not going to be able to do that all the time, and it
Right.
allowed me to have more balance. It allowed me to bring in more boundaries.
Mhm.
So I definitely can attest to the fact that everything, literally every situation, every person that we meet is for a reason.
Mhm.
And we just have to be open to accepting that,
Yes.
and then we have to be open to turning the mirror around even more,
Mhm.
because that's usually what we have to end up doing. We
Well,
can't change anyone else, but
we
we
can
can
only
always
change
change
ourselves.
ourselves, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Oh man. I'm so glad that we were able to get together. I've seen you
Right.
more in the last couple weeks, but I want to continue definitely to see you more.
Mhm.
This
And we will.
it's
It's all
it's
about
been
God's
so
timing.
amazing. Yes, it is.
Mhm.
It is. And he knew that I needed to go through more of my journey. I tell you,
Likewise.
2021 was woof, especially the end of it.
Who you
Um,
telling? 3 surgeries.
yes, mine was more mental
Yeah.
than physical, but that it all had to happen. It needed to happen. It was kind of like that final wake up call where it was like, okay, Jody. It's
That was a combination for
like,
me of physical, mental, and emotional,
yeah.
because I was shell shocked. I've had a lot of injuries, 3 auto accidents that I shouldn't have
Hmm.
walked away from. And
Well, you should have,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
but yeah, you're meant to be here.
yeah. But I was like, look, okay, time out. Like what? But mentally, emotionally, it was tough. But the
Hmm.
physical part, I don't know why I can withstand a lot of pain
Hmm.
physically, but that mental emotional,
Yes.
no, we got to deal with this, Lord, and we
Yeah,
got to deal with
I
this
know,
now because
right?
this is not it.
Yes,
So
yeah.
I commend you, for your growth, Jody. I mean, I see it. Like I see it. I watch you. I see your postings. I see all the things that you're doing, and I'm so eternally grateful to be a part of, watching that a portion of your journey,
Thank you.
because healing truly is a journey. It's not a
Yeah.
destination. And I haven't arrived,
None
I'll
of us have.
arrive. I will arrive the day that I stand before my Abba
And that's,
Father.
yes, we're all, and I tell people this all the time, we're all works in progress. We're never perfect. None of us.
Much as
So
we try to
stop
be.
chasing perfection and just accept who you are. That's what I had to do. It was like, okay, I'm never going to be perfect. I'm never going to be perfect for everyone else, right? There, but I'm flawed and I'm okay with that. So now it's just like, hey, I'm perfectly imperfect.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's so freeing. It's so freeing. Oh my
And when you're free, you can truly enjoy the things that God called us to enjoy, to have that abundant
goodness.
life, to truly embrace who you are without having to justify or clarify or, explain to
Yes.
anyone
Hmm.
or anything. You just are, you just be. That's what I love about the growth that I've seen,
Yeah.
within myself is I no longer try to explain myself. You know, people, they're like, you're so quiet, you're so calm, you're so meek, you don't say a whole lot. Yes, but when I do speak, it's impactful and it's
Yes.
uplifting and it's empowering. If I don't have
Yes.
anything good to say, I'm not going to speak. But I don't want to speak over someone because if everybody's talking, nobody's listening. And when I do
I like
share,
that.
I want to share with understanding of what it is that I'm thinking or perceiving that you're sharing.
Yeah.
So, you know, call me quiet, call me whatever you want. You know, I have my moments, but
Yeah.
okay, I'll be that.
Yeah. Well, and I've actually had to work on that. I'm really learning more just to be quiet
Yeah,
and that it's okay. Because like you said, I might not always have the most positive thing to say, but if I want to be the light for other people, then I should probably keep my mouth shut sometimes when I don't have the most positive thing to say, right?
right.
But also what I've noticed, and maybe you have too, is, and like you said, you've been watching my journey, which thank you. Um, and I don't ever know who's watching, right? But I do know people are watching.
Mhm.
And so one of the things that I talk about a lot is it's our actions that
Yeah,
speak. And I say that, we've heard that the probably our whole lives, our actions speak louder than words. I try to get my daughter to understand that, or her 12-year-old self. But that's one of the things that I really focus on too, where it's like, Lord, if I don't have the right words,
hmm,
just allow my actions to be more like you.
because somebody is always watching. Even when
Yes.
you think somebody's always watching,
Hmm.
you know. I have people reach out to me in my DM, you know, in my DMs. Hey, I've been following you for like the last 4 or 5 years, and da, da, da. And now, and you know, they'll say things, and I'm like, I don't remember saying that. But okay,
Yeah,
you
but
know,
they remembered it.
right?
Yes.
Or they're like, I saw you out in town, or I saw you at this speaking engagement. You know, this lady reached out to me unalignable and
Hmm.
was like, I saw you speak in Missouri some years ago, and I just want you. And I was
Wow.
like, okay, well, praise God.
Yeah. And it's just about timing, right? Like we talked about that a little bit
Mhm,
earlier, where, because we're all on a journey.
mhm.
We're all on a journey. And some people not arrive, but they enter into that journey.
Right.
And make sure I have to choose my words correctly now.
Yes, words are important.
Words are important,
Yeah.
right? They enter into that journey later on.
Mhm.
And that's okay,
Yeah.
because not everyone is ready to endure that journey. And it's not an easy journey to begin. But like you said earlier, it's that community, it's that support.
Mhm.
I mean, it gives me life. I tell people this all the time. It gives me life to know that I get to be that person for someone
Right.
else, because I know how much we need that.
And we were not created to be an island unto ourselves, no matter
Yes.
how much sometimes we try to be that
Yes.
because of unaddressed, unaddressed pain.
Yeah.
And I tell people this mental illness for me, you know, the definition for me is unprocessed pain and
Yeah.
suppressed emotions.
Yeah.
And it's the thing that kills us. You know, silence
Yes.
breeds sickness because of the years of
Yes.
shame and guilt and things that we carried internally
Hmm.
that was not our fault. How have we damaged ourselves, you know, knowingly and unknowingly?
Yeah. Yeah, and I have a really good friend. He's a Christian counselor, and he said, Jody, you need to look up moral injury.
Mm-hmm.
So, you guys, if you're out there and you've never heard of that, look it
Yeah,
up, because
it's
that's
real.
what most of us are experiencing,
Mhm.
and they can put certain labels on things, but it's really that it's injury. And I have another good friend. She calls it PTSI, not PTSD. It's
Mhm.
PTSI. It's
Mhm.
injury. Injury. It's the trauma that we experience that injures us. But the good thing about injuries is injuries can heal,
Mm.
but we have to be willing to allow them to heal.
You gotta do the work.
Got to do the work. Michelle, this has been amazing. I don't even want to wrap this up. I wish we could go a whole nother hour, but
That's awesome.
but we'll do it again.
Right.
But I just wanted to let you just have the stage for a minute and just tell anyone out there, any final words that you have. The podcast portion of this won't be out until later this year, but you guys just follow her, because I expect some amazing things coming her way, and I hope to be a part of some of it. But if you have any final words for anyone out there, I mean, I know we've talked a lot, but just to kind of wrap it up a little bit, what do you think you could say?
So, you know, my parting words would be that healing truly is a journey, it's not a destination. And wherever you are on that path to healing, you don't have to go it alone.
Yeah.
There's always help. and reach out for that help, and don't make a permanent decision regarding your
Yes.
life because of
Yes.
a temporary situation.
Yes.
And if you want a community of support to be a part of, join me. I have an Empower to Thrive Girls Night In every second and fourth Friday. You can find it, on my website, Michelle Speaks with a Z
Mhm.
.com, and you can follow me on all my social media handles. Michelle Speaks with a Z, MICHELLESPEAKZ,
Z.
on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube. And if you're ready, you find yourself in a place where you're ready to move beyond the pain, then reach out and connect with me, and let's make this journey together. The course
Yes.
starts April 20th, and I would love to participate and be a part of your journey to moving forward. And so that's what I have. I want to thank Jody, as always, for having me on the platform and for us sharing. There's a special fire that comes when you're connected with someone that is aligned with
Mhm.
what you're doing and what your journey is. And I feel that with Jody. And so I'm grateful and honored, that God um, has aligned us, and that we were both obedient to heed the call,
Yes.
because sometimes we can be so busy that we miss it.
Or
And so,
stubborn like me.
right. So I thank God. We do
Yes.
have other events coming up related to the Art of Reconnection. That's going to be an annual thing. We're going to do a quarterly Restore Her, beginning the end of September. So be on the lookout.
Nice.
Just
Yes.
stay connected. If you're already
Definitely.
connected with Jody, stay connected. If you want to connect with me, just reach out to me on IG and connect.
Awesome.
All
Awesome.
right.
Michelle, thank you so much again for being here. You guys, this has been another amazing episode of Breaking Barriers Now. I feel blessed. I could never have seen myself doing this, to be honest, but I just feel truly blessed, and I'm grateful that I was obedient, even though it didn't make sense to me, and even though it was scary, and but the Lord has just brought some amazing people into my life that has really, they've all, including Michelle, allowed this to be what I always visioned it to be. So again, I'm your host, Jody Watkins, and I have a community as well. And I would love, between myself and Michelle and some of the other coaches that have been on this show, there's so many people that are here, and you can find that right person. And I pray that for anyone out there who needs to find that connection, that you will try to find that connection, because you have two people in front of you right now who didn't want to be here, and these are the two people that are here right now and able to impact some lives. So if we can at least show you that part of it, that if you have to force it, you are meant for more. And that's what I tell people now. Don't force it. Because if you wake up every single morning, you have purpose beyond what you ever imagined. So let that be your guide. Wake up in the morning, no matter what you're going through, just remember that your purpose is coming. It is coming. So hang on for the ride and make sure you get connected to people who are going to be there for you. So thank you again for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jody Watkins Inspires. Make sure you go follow and subscribe to the Breaking Barriers Now podcast. And we are just going to continue this journey
Together
and keep going forward, because that's all we can do, you guys. Thanks again. Stay blessed, everyone.
Be blessed.